no, thank you very much for the introduction there. So yes, my name is Dan Lemon. I'm filling in for my colleague Hayley at the minute, just for today. So you may have seen Hayley's name pop up and sort of comms and stuff coming from ourselves. And so Hayley's actually doing some training herself. She's on the road at the minute, so I'm just filling in today. So yes, as was mentioned there, I'm going to go through Read and Write, just sort of an overview of that and how to use that and sort of what it can do. And some of the features in there as well, and explain a little bit about that as well. So I'm going to look at the Windows version of Read and Write today, but you do have access to this, and if you so wish, you can use it on Chrome, you can use it on Macs, you can use it on iPad and all as well. So I just have a few slides that I will go through just to sort of start off here before I then get stuck in and actually demonstrate the software for everybody as well. So that should hopefully be sharing there. I can't see anything pop up on the little Meet thing, but can everybody see my screen okay? It should have
we can see that. We can see that, Dan, yeah.
Perfect, that's good. So first off, just some details for myself. Obviously, as I said, my name is Dan. I'm part of the customer success team here at Everway, which is obviously formerly TextHelp. So my email address is on there as well. It's d.lemon@texthelp.com. And then the customer care at texthelp.com is just sort of our wider team email as well. So if anybody has any questions after today, you feel free to reach out to me, and I will certainly be able to answer any of those questions or queries that you have in regards to the software as well. And obviously, in addition to that, you can certainly contact Hayley, and hers is h.butler@texthelp.com. And obviously then the wee office line phone number is on there as well. So my extension, actually, probably should have put that on, is 1333. So if you're phoning the office and then it is 1333 would be my extension. So Read and Write is obviously inclusive education with Read and Write, and we're here to support every learner's journey. So what exactly is Read and Write and what does it do? Well, it is a literacy support toolbar that you do have access to. Obviously throughout yes, for no additional cost to yourselves, as was mentioned then. So it does help students understand, engage and express themselves. So it is a literacy support tool that will help with everyday tasks such as reading aloud, understanding unfamiliar words, researching assignments and proofreading their written work, as well as being able to use it for a dictation function and some study tools in there as well that students can obviously get access to, and just make their learning a little bit more accessible, and another way that they can engage with the content and giving them sort of just flexibility in how they do engage with the content in the classroom. So it's one subscription, one sign-in on any device. So as I said, you do enjoy the benefits of Read and Write on Chromebooks, Windows PCs, Macs, iPad and Android tablets as well. So there is only one license for this, so you don't have to worry about getting different licenses for different platforms. One license, and then there are just deployment instructions. And as part of the customer success or customer care team, that's what we can certainly help out and provide for you as well. So all of the reading and writing support for students when and where they need it on all of those platforms. And it means that they can work from one platform to the other uninterrupted with programs and tools that are unfamiliar to them. So as I said, I will look at it primarily from a Windows point of view today, but at the end, just if we do have some time as well, I'll show you the Chrome one, as that's the other platform that I would generally use quite a bit as well, and just show you exactly how that looks in comparison to Windows. And you'll see that there isn't a steep learning curve if you're using one or the other, and if you have to move from one to the other, you won't be caught unawares with anything that you're not familiar with. So we'll show you that at the end as well. So there's reading and writing support, provides students with access to a suite of 20 different literacy support tools, including text-to-speech, when and where they need it. And as I said, giving them a choice in how they can access, engage with content, and helping to improve their reading and writing skills. Also then supports students with SEN. So Read and Write is particularly useful for supporting SEN learners, as well as students who have English as an additional language, or those with a mild visual impairment. Specific accessibility tools alongside the reading and writing tools help to create a level playing field for everybody. So that's just for the end then, and I'll go ahead and actually demonstrate the software then. So I do just have a Microsoft Word document for the Windows application. And one of the main differences between Windows and the likes of Chrome, for example, is that Windows is a desktop application, whereas the Chrome it's an extension. So it's just an extension that you can use in Chrome or Edge as well. And you can use the Chrome extension in Microsoft Edge if that's your preferred sort of internet browser. But all of the core tools are all there, and the text-to-speech, the dictation, the screen masking, that's all available. So you can use this on any platform and still have the same functionality. So I do have it minimized just at the, yes, sorry, is that just a wee question?
Yeah, sorry, I'm just wondering if Read&Write has functionality using the inbuilt web-based Word app, Microsoft Word app, rather than opening up the desktop app, because our local authority no longer has licensing for the desktop function.
Okay, yeah, and so I mean, if it's on just the sort of the browser, then so it would just be the Chrome extension, but through the likes of Edge or Chrome, so you can do it that way. So that's just one of the sort of the main differences is that as I said, the Microsoft version or the Windows version is a desktop application for sort of more sort of offline use in a sense. But the likes of Chrome and the Edge one, it's obviously needs an internet connection to work. But if you're using all of those online functions, you can use those ones to get access to all of the features and the tools then. So I did have the toolbar for Windows just minimized up at the top there, but this is what you will see once you open up the software. So whether you're using Windows or whether you're using Chrome, it is going to be a toolbar sitting at the top of your screen. And all, as I said, all of the core tools, all of the features will be there no matter what one that you are using. The only difference is the iPad application. So if you do have it on iPad, it works in a slightly different way in that it sort of provides a keyboard for them to use, as well as a couple of different features, but it's just due to the sort of the screen real estate of an iPad, there isn't the same sort of functionality there for that toolbar, but all of the core functions are still there. So one of the main functions within Read and Write is obviously the ability to use it as a reader and have the text read aloud. So just from this Word document that I do have here, you can see then within the toolbar, there is a play button, a pause button, stop, and then a rewind and fast forward as well. So there are your text to speech buttons, and they're going to allow the students to have this text read aloud. Specifically, if any students do have dyslexia or a mild visual impairment, they'll find this obviously very useful in that they can still engage with the content, they can still have it read aloud, and they can obviously learn whatever topic it is that they are doing in class at that time without feeling that they are being left behind because of a sort of an additional learning need that they do have. So it's very, very easy to use simply in your document, and this is across the board, whether it's Windows or whether it's Chrome. Simply click into the document that you're working from and then hit the play button. So just make sure that your cursor is sort of clicked at the start of the sentence that you want to have read aloud, almost as if you were about to start typing, and then hit the play button.
A volcano is a conical hill or mountain formed by material from the mantle being forced through an opening or vent in the Earth's crust.
Hopefully the sound did actually come through there, but do let me know if it didn't. But hopefully it did, and you were able to hear that being read aloud just from the document then. Perfect. No, that's good. So yes, that's pretty much that's being able to use the text to speech. So you simply just hit the play button, and it will read out the text that you have selected then. So pause, we'll just pause it in the middle. You would hit the play to have it start again. Stop, we'll obviously stop it completely. So it would stop it and then it'll reset essentially. So they would have to select the text to have that read aloud. Then rewind and fast forward do exactly what they say. So you can skip back a sentence with the rewind button, or you can go forward sentence by sentence with the fast forward button. So it just gives them, again, options on how they engage with the content that they want to have read aloud. And it just makes it a little bit more accessible in that sense. So within the settings that are over on the right-hand side of the screen, this little menu here, you do have a drop-down menu with a few things that you can turn on and off at the sort of on the go. But if you go into show more settings and then onto speech here, this is where you do have your text to speech settings. So again, these will be available within the likes of the Chrome extension and obviously on Edge and all as well. But the main thing that you're going in here to do is that you can actually change the voice that the text-to-speech will use. So clicking on the drop-down menu, you can see then I'm presented with a lot of different voices that I can use. And you'll notice then that there are sort of different languages and different sort of nationalities beside each of these voices as well. And that means that once they click on sort of French voice or a Spanish or German, it is then going to speak with a different sort of accent. And there are then obviously Scottish voices in here as well that you can use. So they might be a little bit more familiar for your certain users. But again, if you do have students where English is an additional language for them, perhaps that we know obviously that a lot of Ukrainian students have come across in the past couple of years. There is the likes of a Ukrainian voice in there as well that they just might find a little bit more familiar and a little bit more comfortable when they are having documents either online or in sort of from a Word document read aloud as well. So one thing just to be aware of is that it's not going to change the language of the actual document itself. Yes, sorry, just a wee question there.
Sorry, I was mute. Yes, I'm additional language, English as additional language teacher. It's very interesting what you're just showing. Is it okay to demonstrate it for just a wee second, how it works?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
No problem. So yes, I'll even pick the Ukrainian voice here as well. And we'll leave the speed as it is for the moment. So if I go back in to my document and then hit play.
Avocțanul acționitza Hiller Monte informed by material from the a monthly being forced grow an opinion government extrust.
So that would be the likes of the Ukrainian voice, or if I went in, for example, and chose perhaps a Spanish voice, we'll do that one as well. So let me see here, just a standard Spanish voice, and then go back in and hit play.
Avocțanul acționica Hiller Monte informed by material from the monthly being forced grow an opinion government in the extrust.
So obviously then it will still read out it will read English basically. It's not going to change the language that the actual document is written in. It will just continue to read in the written language, but obviously speak with a different sort of accent or dialect then. So once you change those voices, they can speak a little bit fast as well. And that's where the voice speed slider does come in. So you just have to grab that and bring it down and sort of play about with the speech settings as well. If you do specifically have students where English is an additional language, or even your students that obviously they do speak English, they might want to use a different sort of English speaking voice. If there are Australian voices and American voices and all in there, as I said, there are obviously the Scottish voices as well. They may find that they also speak a little bit too fast just for their own understanding, but they can certainly use the voice speed just to dial that back a wee bit and find what is obviously comfortable for them. Beneath that as well, there is then the word pause. So they can pause it up to a second between each word and then lower the pitch. So there's a lot of different things that they can do just to help change the voice settings and make it more comfortable. And it's the voice settings that once you introduce this to students and start getting to use it, it's probably where they'll make the most changes, just to find obviously the voice that they want to use, the speed and all, etc. as well. And just to make sure that everything is as comfortable as possible for them. And obviously then there is a test voice bit here at the bottom as well. So one of the things that I will mention as well, once students make these changes, as far as with the deployment method that you have, they don't need to worry about going back in and doing this over and over again. Once they do this the first time, that will then save for them. So there's two deployment methods. One is obviously it's pushed out across the network and they sign into the actual desktop or Chromebook or laptop that they're using and then just access the software. And then another one, it's more for shared devices, is that they would sign into the software itself. But no matter what way the software has been deployed, the changes will save based on the user, so they don't have to. And the same for yourselves, obviously, when staff are accessing this, you don't have to worry about going back in and making changes every single time. The first time that you do it, it will then save that. And you can obviously go in and change things, but if you have something that you've set up, you don't have to worry about changing it the next time as well. So just down at the bottom here, you will have seen obviously with the text-to-speech, then there is the dual color highlighting, which you can change the color of as well. So there's a whole list of different colors. And again, it's just about playing about with what color is, it's more down to personal preference really, about what color students like or what color you like when you're using the text-to-speech, but that is something that you can do as well then. And then just to draw your attention to this here, but it says continuous reading. As far as I'm aware, remember by default that will be turned off. Whether you're using Chrome or whether you're using Windows, obviously it's same across the board. But continuous reading, it does exactly what you might think it will do. It will continuously read out through the document. So you will have seen when I selected that text, it just read that first sentence and then it did stop. If I had continuous reading turned on, it would just continually read until there is no text left. So if there are larger extracts of text, such as pages or chapters from a book, continuous reading can come in handy then to just have that text read aloud, and then they don't necessarily have to hit the play button every single time. But on the flip side of that, if there are questions that they need to have read aloud or shorter sentences and sort of shorter paragraphs or whatever, they can turn continuous reading off, be able to have the question read aloud and then provide an answer to that as well. So there are situations where continuous reading can be used, and then there are situations where it is sort of better to have it off then. So with the text-to-speech sort of out of the way, and the next tool that we'll have a look at is the dictionaries that we do have. So within Read and Write, there are two dictionaries, both a picture dictionary and a standard dictionary. And that sort of comes along from the likes of the text-to-speech. If they are got, they do have documents, students have documents, or PDFs or web pages, whatever it happens to be, and they do come across words that they are unfamiliar with and want to know a bit more about, that's where the dictionaries come into play. And again, for students where English is an additional language, they will more than likely see words that again they don't know and obviously want to learn a bit more about. For everybody there to just improve their vocabulary and improve their the way that they will provide build sentences with these new words. So to access the dictionaries, simply double click on a word like so, and then hit the dictionary button. And that will then provide you with this little dialog box here. So I've chosen the word conical because I mean, it would maybe be a word that some people might struggle to actually provide a definition for or an example of what that actually means. But you can see then that it has provided me with this dictionary definition here. So there is only one of them at the moment, and that's because it is a slightly more advanced word. But if I was to click on the, let me see, mountain, for example, it is more than likely going to provide me with a few more definitions here because it's not as an advanced word as the word conical. But if I don't need or don't have requirement for all of those definitions, I can turn the advanced tab off and it will simply leave me with one or two depending on the word and the level of that word as well. So you can turn that advanced tab off and it just means that it will tone down the amount of definitions that are given and just make it a little bit easier to understand. So for younger students, perhaps they don't need all of those advanced definitions. They can just be provided with the basic ones then. So then picture dictionary, do the same thing, simply double click on the word and click the picture dictionary button. And I'll move that over to this side of the document. And you can see then that it is just a small sort of image that has been provided. So we use widget imagery for this at the moment. Most of the words will have some form of image to give a visual representation of what these words actually mean. Some of them won't, and if there isn't one, it will just come up and say that there is no image available for this word. But the majority of the words that, that you're going to be using, be looking up to learn about, they will have those pictures there as well. And they can be used side by side. But one thing with the picture dictionary as well, for more visual learners in the classroom, they can actually grab these images and bring them into their document as well. So they can actually place those images right beside the word that they are wanting to learn a bit more about. So if they're putting together sort of a document, they can do exactly that and have that visual representation as something to refer back to the next time they come back to look at that document, or if they're studying for the likes of a test, for example, they can have that visual representation to know exactly what that word means then. So something that sort of, it does tie in to the likes of the picture dictionary and the standard text dictionary is our vocabulary list. So you'll see then within Read and Write, there are 4 different highlighters, 4 different colored highlighters that we do have access to. So to use those, similarly to the picture dictionary, simply double click on the word. So we'll go for conical here, and we'll do mantle in blue, and we'll maybe do the word extinct in green, and even the word runny in pink. So I've selected 4 different words that I, as a student, am unfamiliar with, and I want to learn a bit more about. I've looked it up obviously in the dictionary, but I want now a place where I can keep these words, sort of a digital space where I can keep these words if I'm doing a lot of work on a laptop or a desktop. So once I've highlighted them, I then hit the vocabulary list button, which is at the very end of the toolbar. It will then make sure that I have the right words. If there's something there that I have highlighted by accident, I can click it and then hit remove. Or if I want to type another word in to add to my vocabulary list, I can do that as well. But once I hit the create button here, a little window should just pop up. Oh, it's been quite quick there today. And it actually, Read and Write then creates this here. So you should hopefully then see that on the screen. It's taken me to a new Word document and it has created this table for me. And this is my vocabulary list. So what it has given me is the word that I had highlighted. It's brought a definition from the dictionary. It's also, if there is a picture, it will give me that from my picture dictionary. And then it will then give me a blank notes section. So the notes section is always blank. And that is there for students to put in, build their own sentences around those words. They can insert web pages, they can insert YouTube video links, they can insert page numbers from textbooks, whatever they need in there to add a note to the word or to have further study or further learning based around a topic that they're doing, they can add that into the notes section of their vocabulary list. The vocabulary lists themselves are unlimited in terms of the amount of words that can be added to them. I've just done 4 sort of to speed it up a wee bit. The more words that you add, the longer it will take just to process, but you can add 10 or 20 or 30 in there. It's entirely up to yourself. And from a sort of a teaching perspective as well, you can obviously use this to create resources. So if you're starting a new topic in the classroom, you can then go through a sort of a worksheet or a PDF or a web page and grab words that you think that they are maybe going to struggle with or that you want them to learn a bit more about and have in their vocabulary, and create a sort of a vocabulary list for your class or for that topic as well, then, so that everybody will sort of be working from the same sheet and everybody is going to have the same learning resources. So once they have the vocabulary list as well, and one thing that they can do, sort of bringing it back to perhaps those students where English is an additional language for them, they could maybe use the notes section that, as I said, it is always going to be blank, to provide a translation into their sort of their own language, their home language as well. So into the settings here, and I'll just double check the translator into what language we're going to be translating into. So translation is just down at the bottom here, and it is set to translate from English into Ukrainian. So what I could do is simply highlight this text here that is in my vocabulary list. So that's my definition of the word conical, and then hit translator. What that is then going to do is open up a sort of a web page tab, and you can see then that has obviously the text help, probably they seem to be everywhere branding. But it has provided me with that translation as well. So there is a play button that will get to you. You can have that read aloud, but they could copy the translation, close down their translator, and go into the notes section and pop that into their notes as well. So obviously then they could format that in obviously ways that they want to, but that's perhaps something that students where English is an additional language for them can have their sort of home translation beside the English translation as well. And it might just help them to learn and understand the words in the vocabulary list that little bit more as well then. So just jumping back into my sort of my first document then, you can get rid of these highlights. So just highlight your sort of highlighted text, and then there is a brush up here called Erase Highlights. Simply click that and it will take away the highlighted text that you had there, and means that you can start again. So students, and obviously yourselves as staff, can create as many vocabulary lists from one document as you want. They are completely editable as well. It just brings it into either a Microsoft Word document or a Google Doc, and it just means that then they can do whatever they want with them, add, delete, etc. If there are definitions that they don't need or images, they can certainly take them away, or they can add to it as well. So there's just a couple of more tools that we'll have a quick look at in terms of reading, and then move on to the writing tools as well then. So one of the big ones is the screen masking function. So the screen masking is just up here in the toolbar, sort of in the middle of it. And once I click this, you will then see that my whole screen has now got this blue overlay on it. So that is the screen masking that I know that some students do find very valuable when they're obviously using your sort of physical media. They may have a colored sheet that they then use over their physical sort of media, but they now have access to that in sort of this digital, the digital media as well. Then within the screen masking, once you turn it on, you will get access to this little toolbar as well. So there is an off button over on the left-hand side, just means that you can sort of move it around in case it's in the way of some text. Hitting the settings though will open up the screen masking settings, and there are a few things that you can change in here as well. Again, just to make this a little bit more accessible for the students that are using it, or staff as well, if this is something that you do need to obviously to be able to see the text on the screen. So you can change the way that it tints. Generally, tint the whole screen is the most commonly used one, and is actually the sort of setting that will give the students access to the reading ruler as well. So for example, if I turn on the reading ruler and move that over to the side, you can see then that it has just sort of taken away the color in the middle there, and allows me to specifically focus in on that text. I can move it up and down just with moving my mouse, whether that is using a physical mouse or the trackpad on a laptop. Move it up and down and allows you to focus in on that specific section of text then. Within the colors, you can change the color of the reading ruler. It's just this little square down here. So if we wanted it to be yellow, I can make it yellow. And then I can also just take the color away the way it was previously. Yes, just a wee question from, is Angela? Yes.
Hi there. I was just wondering, you know how you've got the reading ruler and it's obviously going horizontal. Can you get it going vertical? Because I'm just thinking of like mental maths. Because sometimes when there's a lot of text on the page, they struggle with what you know, they'll read a question, answer it, and then come back to it, and then sometimes mix up days. Whereas it would be really good if it was just identifying that one days, if that makes sense. I just wondered if you could do it, if that can be vertical.
No, unfortunately not. It is just the sort of that horizontal one at the moment.
Okay.
But I mean, it's certainly something, obviously, in terms of feedback, we're always on the lookout for feedback to see how we can improve. So that is certainly something that, well, I'll talk to our development team and all, and see if that's something that is a possibility further on down the line. But at the moment, it is just the horizontal reading ruler.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. But when just on that, so when you can change the opacity of the background, so it doesn't have to be as intense as that, or it can obviously block out the whole screen if that is the way that somebody wants to work. Same with the reading ruler. Obviously, there's no color there, so if I made it a yellow one, for example, I can have it quite a light yellow, or I can simply block out all of that text as well. I can change the height of it, so I can make it a wee bit smaller, obviously a lot larger, but yes, it is just the horizontal sort of direction at the moment. And then one final thing, just on the sort of the colors for either the background or the reading ruler, is that if you go into this here, you can see then, so clicking on the color square, there are standard colors. There's obviously a lot of choice there, but there is an advanced tab as well, and it actually allows students to enter specific RGB values. So what that means then is that there may be students who need a colored overlay have been prescribed a set of RGB values by a doctor or an optician. And if that is the case, they will be able to put them into Read and Write. So instead of going into the colors, selecting something from the standard section that is sort of close to what they need, but not quite there, they can actually put in exactly what they've been prescribed from a medical perspective as well. Then, so if there are any students that do use a colored overlay, and it maybe you've maybe noticed that specifically with physical media, it's a color that's sort of a little bit different than normal. Simply ask them or encourage them to put that in when they are using Read and Write, and it might just make it a little bit easier for them, and once again just make it a little bit more accessible for them as well. So we'll turn that off for now. So just a couple more ones to show you in terms of the in terms of reading. Firstly, the audio maker is simply a way to convert text into an audio file. So highlight your text and then hit the audio maker button. It'll bring up this dialog box again, gives you the text in here that you can add to or you can delete as well. So that just becomes a fully editable text box. Preview how that will sound, and then you can see, you pick where you want to save it and then give it a file name as well. So obviously you in the way that a lot more people do listen to podcasts now to sort of engage with media and sort of consume media, you may find a lot of students get a lot of benefit out of that in being able to actually convert the text into an audio file, especially if there is not a lot of sort of more auditory learners in the classroom as well. And then finally, we have the screenshot reader. So the screenshot reader is sort of an extension, if you will, of the text-to-speech, and it allows us to have previously inaccessible text read aloud. So for example, this box over here is just an image. All I can do with that is sort of move it around, but I can see then there is text in there and I want to have that read aloud. So what I can do is select the screenshot reader, draw a box around the first sentence up here. Read and Write will then sort of process that and look to see what text is there.
Simple cross-section of a volcano.
And obviously that's still in the Spanish voice from before, but it will then allow you to have that read aloud. So we'll use the same text-to-speech settings that you will have selected at the start. So same voice, same speed, etc. It will all be there as well. And that's something with the audio maker as well, actually. So once the audio file is converted, it will use the same speech settings that were selected within Read and Write at the start. And it just makes things a little bit more fluid instead of students converting it to an audio file and suddenly the voice is different and it's maybe a little bit faster than they're used to. It will all stay the same and just allows for a lot more fluidity and a lot more accessibility across the board as well. So obviously now we've looked at a lot of reading tools and some of the study tools in there as well, but it is called Read and Write, so there are some tools in there that we can look at to help with writing as well. Yes, Angela.
Sorry for asking another question, but it was just
okay.
I kind of missed the start. Like you obviously had this text up already. Are we able to take photographs of text so that they can read,
Yes.
take screenshots of it for, you might have prepared stuff, but it's things that maybe come up in class.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. So I mean, that's actually one feature. I think I have it turned off at the moment, but if you go into the settings here, and it will work the same way on I think on Chrome as well, but there is a scanning function. So what you can do is hit the scanning function within Read and Write, and what you can then do is actually connect the likes of your phone or an iPad or something to the device. If you have a photograph of something on there, you can upload that to sort of say make it into a PDF or a Word document, and then use Read and Write to open that and actually have that text read aloud. So you'd be using a couple of different features. You would first connect your device, whether it is a physical scanner or a phone or a tablet, connect that and convert your image into a file format, and then use the likes of the screenshot reader that I just showed there to actually have that previously inaccessible text read aloud as well. Then.
Thank you.
No problem. And if you do have anything, a previous file is perhaps a PDF that is, we know how PDFs, the more that you sort of scan things and print things, the actual clarity of the text does tend to sort of disappear. You can scan all of that in and use it and make it sort of an accessible PDF then, and make it a lot clearer and use, again, the screenshot reader or the text-to-speech to have that have it read aloud. So yes, just a couple of tools in terms of the actual writing functions for Read and Write. And so first one we'll have a look at is the prediction tool. It's over in the sort of the left-hand corner here. And the prediction tool just is similar to, obviously if you've used this on the likes of your mobile phone, it will allow students to, it'll give them help with their writing, and does come in handy for students that maybe do have dyslexia and struggle with spelling, or they do struggle with getting sort of the words they want down onto the page as well. And that's where the prediction is going to come in. So I mean, if I was to just start typing here, you can see then over in this side, this little box will start to change the more that I start to type. Yeah, so the more that I start to type, obviously that will start to change. It's looking at what I've written previously and thinking what is most likely going to come next based on that. The more that students sort of use it, the more that it will pick up on sort of their writing patterns and all the rest of it as well. But it is a spelling friendly tool. So if somebody has spelled something incorrectly or they have spelled something phonetically, it will pick up on that as well and actually give them the correct spelling. So for students that do sort of, they may struggle with spelling and actually writing, it just helps to give them a little bit more confidence to actually write. They don't necessarily need to worry about the spelling at that moment in time, and gives them a bit more confidence to do some writing, and then they can proofread it with the likes of the text-to-speech. There is also a check it function as well, so if they have made spelling mistakes, they can then come back and use the check it function to check those spelling mistakes or incorrect sort of or misused punctuation, grammar, homophones, all of that can be checked with the check it function as well, just to make sure that their writing is up to standard then for what they would maybe need to pass a test. But that is the prediction tool. And one thing to certainly be aware of, maybe more for students than likes of yourselves, obviously as staff, is that it's not going to do the work for them. They can't just put in a prompt and get it to write for them. They still need to do the writing. It's just there to help them and give them a little helping hand with their spelling and improving their vocabulary as well. And then the final writing tool that we'll have a quick look at is obviously then the talk and type. So talk and type is our dictation function. It doesn't require any training or anything like that there. You simply plug and play, really. There is an offline version within Windows, so you simply go to the settings, and once you're in there, you just look for the talk and type in the settings, and there is sort of an offline toggle as well. Use offline speech recognition. Simply toggle that on, and that just means that if you don't have an internet connection, you can still use the talk and type the same way that you would if you were connected to the internet. So previously you would have needed to do some training for that one, but that has been updated recently, and that there's no training required for any of these, either Chrome or Edge as well. There's absolutely no training required. And again, the more that it's used, the more that it will sort of learn how somebody speaks and speech patterns and the way sentences are put together as well. But it's very, very easy to use. Simply click into the sentence as if you were about to start typing, and then hit the microphone button at the top as well. So one thing, just a couple of things to be aware of. The first time that it's used, it may take a couple of seconds just to sort of warm up. So just wait for it to say that it's ready for you to start speaking, and then just to speak as clearly as possible. In a situation like I'm in at the minute with it's just the microphone on my laptop, it may pick up on a few things inaccurately, but it will work a lot better if you have a headset. Doesn't have to be the likes of a Bluetooth one, simply one that plugs into a laptop or a desktop. And as long as it has the wee microphones and the little heads, the headset and the microphone that comes down at the side, it will be a lot more accurate, because it won't be then picking up on any background noise, and it won't be picking up on anybody else talking at the same time. And it just allows for a lot more accuracy that way. So I'll simply show you very quickly how this works. So click into obviously your sentence then. A volcano is a conical hill or mountain formed by material from the mantle being formed through an opening or vent in the Earth's crust, full stop. And then once you're done, just click on the talk and type, and that will turn the microphone off again. It means you can have a conversation, or the students can have a conversation as well. But it has picked up on everything that I wanted it to there. And as commands and all will work as well. So your full stops, your commas, all of your punctuation will need to be said, but it will pick up on all of that and know exactly sort of where to put them. New line will take a new line, and they can continue to write further sentences as well then. And one good thing is that it will pick up on sort of speech breaks. So somebody stops and says maybe or ah a little bit, because I certainly do it quite a lot when I'm doing things like this here. It will pick up on that and not put it in as a word. It knows to wait and listen for actual words and sentences to come through then. So that's just something to certainly be aware of for students. So that does bring us to the sort of the end. I mean, that's obviously the core tools within Read and Write for Windows. And as I mentioned, we do have a wee bit of time just before we finish up. I will show you very quickly the Read and Write for Google Chrome, just to show you the sort of the main difference between that and what that looks like in comparison to Windows as well. So I'll close down the Windows one here. So just in a Google Doc, same as the Windows one that I had open, over in the right-hand corner, if you're using Chrome and Edge as well, it is obviously a wee extension. You're just looking for the purple jigsaw piece, clicking on that, and then that will open it up within my Google Doc there. So you can see then the toolbar just open at the top of the screen, but all of the same tools are there. So you have your text-to-speech tools, you have your prediction. The icon looks slightly different in Chrome compared to Windows for prediction, but it's the same tool. The dictionaries are there, screenshot reader, audio maker, screen masking. Again, dictation is there, just looks slightly different. All of the highlighters, the translator is all there, and the vocabulary list as well is all there. So there isn't a steep learning curve, as I mentioned, between using Chrome and using Windows, or if you're using it on Edge, there isn't a learning curve really at all. And all of these tools have been designed to work in such a way that it's one, maybe 2 clicks at most to get to where you want to be and to get the tool being used. So for any students, it is designed to work in such a way that it's easy and accessible for them to use all of these tools as well. So yeah, that does bring us to the end. So I mean, any questions at all on that? Or what anybody want me to go back over anything that they may have missed, or just want me to explain anything again?
Are we able to get the recording from this just so that we could go back over things that have been discussed?
Yep, I'll be doing is I'll stop the recording and then I'll upload it to our YouTube channel, and I'll send out the recording to everyone who had signed up. So don't worry about that.
Thank you.
No worries. In fact, while we're speaking about that, I'll stop the recording just now.
No problem.